Okay, so I've just been sent the Hyperbase Playzone SSD, as we can see just here, and I've actually been sent this to review it. So I'm going to leave the link in my description so you can go to the website itself, that's through Amazon. So what have we got here? Just unpackage this, and as we can see, we got the 2.5-inch SATA solid state drive just here. This contains thousands of games, which I'm going to go through in this video, but let's actually just take a look at the packaging here. So this is how it's arrived, and it looks pretty nice. Granted, it's just an SSD, but we've got a nice Playzone icon just here on the drive itself. We've also got a series of cables here. So of course, SSDs are going to need a particular type of cable to connect it to a PC. We've actually got the cable just here. So if I just open this one, and here we go. So we're going to connect this in a minute to the PC and see how this performs. So this obviously is going to go into the SSD, and we got the USB on the end, which is going to connect to the PC itself. And for those of you who want to connect it internally to a computer, then we've also got a cable which comes with it, which one end is going to connect to the SSD, whereas the other end is going to connect to your computer's motherboard. So if we just gently take this drive out, and here we go. So like I say, it's a standard SSD, and this is going to offer us a lot more power and speeds than an average mechanical old school hard drive. So in the side just here, we got the connection to slot this into, and it really is that simple. Now this is connected, and I've obviously left with the USB on the end, so all we need to do now is just connect this to a USB in the PC. Okay, so connecting this to my Windows 11 laptop, which I do all my videos on, this is actually showed up straight away. So as we can see just here, we got the Playzone drive, and this is a 1TB SSD. So if we just go into the Playzone drive, we're going to find retrobat, playnite and launchbox. So we got 3 front end systems on here. So let's start off with one of the front ends that I'm most famous for on my channel, and that I've extensively covered over the last couple of years. So we got the structure just here of retrobat, everything's looking good. And if we just go into the ROMs folder, we're going to find several different systems here. So we got everything here from what looks like Atari 800. If we just come out of here, we got Game Gear, we got the Atari ST, we got the Famicom Disk System, Game & Watch, which I believe a lot of people struggled with, so that would be pretty interesting to see how that performs correctly set up. We got the Game Gear, we got Game Boy Original, we got Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, the Atari Lynx, and we also got MAME and Neo Geo, which a lot of people will likely find very interesting. There's a lot of arcade fans out there, so we got plenty here by the seams of it. And let's just take a look at the different systems here. Neo Geo Pocket, Neo Geo Pocket Color, PC Engine, that'll be TurboGrafx 16, and we've also got Supervision. So we don't actually have a full set of systems for retrobat, so by the seams of it, retrobat with the Playzone drive is going to be pretty awesome for arcade fans itself. But anyways, let's actually open up retrobat from here. If I just double left click. Now I've got my Xbox controller hooked up to play this. So playing a game through retrobat is fairly easy itself, so I'm not going to go through every single game on here, but by the looks of it, we got a fair amount of games here to play. So anyways, what I'm going to do for people who's not familiar with retrobat, I'll just do you a quick demonstration how this works. So if I was to go into say MAME, which is obviously I think the basis of this pack, what you're going to be getting if you should buy one of these. I'll just go down to AB Cop, and to open this, what I can actually do is hold on to the A button on my Xbox controller. And first of all, if we go down to advanced game options, if you do have any issues open up any of these games, if we go to emulator at the top just here, we got lots of different versions of MAME. So obviously MAME games can be a little bit tricky to run, but generally leaving it to auto should do the trick. Now if I just come out of here and actually boot up the game itself, so it really is as simple as just pressing say the A button on the game. So here we go.
Okay, and I'll just use a couple of buttons on my controller known as the hotkeys just to exit me out of that, and I didn't need to map it, it's already done it for me. So generally this is the way we play games. It's pretty simple, and just remember, if you were new to my channel and you should get any problems with using retrobat, I've covered over probably 300 different aspects of retrobat, from adding your own systems to it to configuration for controllers. So another quick example, if we go into Game & Watch, which I was curious about just now, and I open up a random game just there, let's just go for Bomb Fight. If I press A on this just to open it, so as we can see, Game & Watch is set up. Now with retrobat, we also got something called bezels on the sides of the games itself. Now, just a minute ago, I went into the main game, and I'm just curious if we can actually change how this looks. So if I hold on to my A button and go down to Advanced Game Options, if I go down to Decorations, we can actually add different decorations here. Now, this system doesn't seem to come with the bezel project, but we can possibly download that through the retrobat system itself. Now, if I use a decoration for one of these games, if I go for, say, Arcade's 1980s, and sometimes when we're using these decorations, we might need to adjust aspect ratio. So if I go to game aspect ratio, by standard, these are displayed in 4:3. So technically, if I leave this to auto, it should present nicely with that 1980s arcade decoration. So if I open up again, so I'm not going to play that again. And for those of you interested in which version of retrobat this is running, if we just open up main menu by pressing the start button, we can see at the bottom just here, this is a slightly older version of retrobat. This is version 5.3.0 stable. For those of you in the know with retrobat, we're currently on version 6.4. If I go down to updates and downloads, and go to start update, that's entirely up to you. If you want to do that, you might mess it up, so actually I wouldn't recommend doing that. Or if you just fancy buying this SSD just for the games, then obviously you can update it, but just remember to take the games off of the drive first and then perform the update just as a precaution. If we go to the bezel project, like I say, we actually got bezels here to download for each game. We don't have much space left on the solid state drive, so you might be able to get away with downloading a couple of these packs. I won't go through every single system, but like I say, there's a fair amount of games on this SSD. If I just go for Neo Geo, if I just scroll through here, so there's a good amount of Neo Geo games, and like I suspected at the start of the video, this is actually aimed more for an arcade audience. If I go to open up a Neo Geo game, just keep my finger on A, Advanced Game Options, and here we go. So we can actually change decorations on here as well if you want. Now, we can also change the layout of how retrobat looks. So if I press the start button and main menu then opens, if I go to user interface settings and to theme set at the top, we've actually got two themes here, so you can likely get away with adding a couple of your own themes using the retrobat downloader. If I change this to emulation station theme carbon, come out, and here we go. So I've also disabled the music for this because, to be honest with you, it was driving me insane. I wouldn't say this was the greatest front end music, so yeah, I did disable that. And once we changed the theme, we also then got a different layout for how the games look. Personally, I'm more of a fan of this default just here rather than the comic look. Okay, going back to the drive itself, we got a PlayZone user manual, which I actually forgot to mention just a minute ago. If we just open this PDF up, So now I'm going to give you instructions how to use this and what supports it. So we're going to need a couple of downloads if you don't have them on your computer already, such as Visual C++, DirectX. And it's also going to give you some guidance there how to exit games and everything else, which I've just covered in retrobat. So it's pretty useful information there if you're, say, new to retrobat. So if we just come out of here, the next front end we've got installed is playnite. So if we just go into playnite, now I've covered playnite on my channel, and to be honest with you, it's not the most user-friendly front end. If we just scroll down, we should find it executable to open up this front end. So here it is. If we go to playnite full screen app, and here we go. So this is playnite. Now, obviously, I'm not going to open up each one of these games, but there's a fair few games on there, everything pretty much new wave, retro style games. So let's just open up one of these, for example. So we got the game Wild Frost here, and if I go to play this, so that seems to be working just fine. So it looks like playnite is actually designed for a PC side of games rather than, say, Nintendo or Sega. And finally, we've got launchbox just here. So launchbox for some people can be a little bit complex, but generally it's pretty easy nowadays compared to how it used to be, especially when using RetroArch through it. So what we're going to do is just go down to launchbox.executable to open it. Okay, so this is Launchbox, and as we can see on the left-hand side panel just here, this is different systems that this solid-state drive has got. So if we go to 3DO, we got lots of different 3DO games just here to play. We got the original Xbox. We've even got Xbox One. We got N64, and there seems to be a wealth of games just here for N64. We got Nintendo NES or Famicom, Nintendo GameCube, we got Nintendo Switch, we got Nintendo Wii, we got the Wii U, we got Sega Dreamcast, Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, Sega Saturn we've also got, which is pretty interesting. If we go to Sony PlayStation, we've obviously got the PS1, PS2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, interestingly. So I'm not sure if the PlayStation 5 games or even the PS4 games are going to work because, to my knowledge, PlayStation 4 is in the early stages of emulation. So there's a couple of games for PS4 which will likely work. Not sure about games like Resident Evil 2, but just out of curiosity, let's try and open one of these. Okay, so Resident Evil 2 is booting up, but I'm not sure if this is the actual PlayStation 4 game. As a lot of us know, PS4 emulation is unlikely to support this, so this is quite likely a PC release of Resident Evil 2. And here we go. So yeah, sure enough, it opens up, but like I say, it's not a PlayStation 4 game. I'd imagine this is a PC game, and it's put under the category of PS4 for some reason. So we're just going to go back to Launchbox, and of course everyone's watching this video for retro games, so let's just forget about the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So we got Super Nintendo here, and there's a wealth of SNES games. If I open up one of these by random, I'm presuming this is powered by RetroArch. So to play this, I'm just going to go to play. And yeah, just as I thought, this is running through RetroArch. Now, since this is running through RetroArch again, I've extensively covered RetroArch on my channel. We can add things like bezels and everything else to this, and we can also update it, but just bear in mind, if you do purchase one of these, you might be limited for space, but RetroArch itself, we can actually save games through here, and it's quite likely for retrobat as well. I'd say most of those systems within retrobat on this SSD are also using RetroArch. So in this case, I've actually pressed the F1 button on my keyboard to access this RetroArch quick menu. We can save states, load states as standard. If we go down to core options, we can change aspect ratio just here. And if we go to settings, we got all the options here for video. So if I was to go down to say output, if you get any problems with displaying your games, then just go to video and change over the driver just here. If we go down to scaling, we can change aspect ratios just here, but normally core provided with RetroArch is selected by default, which should give you the most accurate aspect ratio for that particular system.
So after an in-depth review of the Playzone, is this actually worth buying, and who's it actually designed for? So like I was saying in the video, we got 3 different front ends here. Why something like Super Nintendo was added into Launchbox rather than retrobat, and I'm sure of. But generally, this should give you plenty of retro gameplay, and it's a fairly simple setup to use as well. Like I demonstrated in the video, just plug into the side just here, and that will connect to a Windows computer. And also, if you want to connect this internally, it also comes with that SATA cable, which is going to connect it internally to a computer. It's 1 terabyte, and this came with around 3.5 gigabyte of space, which we can actually use. So in the video, I was discussing about downloading extra themes or artwork or whatever. So there is some space on this, but not a great deal of space left, admittedly. So anyways, thank you Playzone for sending me this one to review, and for those of you who's interested in this, I'll leave the link in my description so you can check out prices. Anyways, thanks for watching.